Hi, everybody. It's David Gordon. It's Thursday, May 7th, and I'm here with Colton Ryan from Girl from the North Country. What are you up to these days, Colton?
Good. That's a great question. I ask myself that every day. Other than home improvement projects, which are now, the list is I'm still trying to now make up new ones, but it's waning. I've recently used the last bit of savings I have on a lot of audio recording equipment.
Oh, cool.
And I've just been writing and working on stuff like that, and actually just teaching myself how to use software at first. And that takes a lot of time. So that's running my mind, which is good.
You're gonna have a full record by the time this is all over.
That is genuinely the goal. Actually, EP is the better word. But yeah, that actually literally is one of the goals.
Well, that's a good goal. Are you in New York or are you elsewhere?
I'm in Lexington, Kentucky, actually.
Oh.
It's my hometown, and we got out literally like, I think a week to the day after they suspended Broadway.
Uh-huh.
It still took a minute for my girlfriend's show to be canceled at the Argyle. And we were just kind of, like everyone, very hopeful and optimistic. But my mom was like, I think you'll be happier here. And I was like, no, I won't, because mothers. And then I was like, oh, like all mothers, she was right. And now we have a little more space in our confinement. We can go outside a little bit and at least sit on the back patio and stuff. And
I can't remember the last time I went outside.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't envy, and I really think it. Only New Yorkers could have that kind of resilience to be able to do this. I feel like at that New York level of having to stay inside all the time.
Born and raised.
Are you really?
Yeah.
From what part?
Born and raised in Queens.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I'm used to not leaving my apartment.
Are you still in Queens?
We're in Astoria now, yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. No, it's good. My wife is sort of losing it a little bit, but it's fine.
Don't out her on this.
I know. She's in the bedroom. She hears whatever I'm doing.
If she was the one doing the interview, she'd be like, my husband's losing it.
She'd be open about that.
Yeah.
It's funny. Our last show was Girl from the North Country. We saw it on Tuesday of the week that everything shut down.
That's right.
And then, so you guys opened the Thursday before. You were the last show to open.
Yeah.
And then you recorded the album that Monday.
That's right. Wow. That was a crazy week.
Yeah. Tell me about what that week was like, because you've been with this show for a while now.
Uh-huh. Well, I mean, it is cosmically funny. I mean, we opened at the public in 2018 in the fall. And I talk about this pretty openly with a lot of people about, like, with the cast of heavy hitters that it is, like all the veterans, and then like they gave a bone to like me. A lot of them were like, yeah, this is as sure of a bet as it gets. It played the West End. We're going to the public. The reviews were like more than anyone could ask for. It was so great. And they all thought, I guess, and we all did. I mean, it was just natural. It was like, the next thing is hopefully to go to Broadway that spring,
right?
2019. And that didn't happen just because of the reality of like real estate and just things not being open. And then when we got that call, almost like a year to the day later, it was like, oh my God, we're doing this.
You're like, this again? We're back?
Yeah, exactly. It was like the Parks and Rec, like, we're back, and like throwing Jerry's painting into the water. Wait, stop wasting your time, Jerry. But no, it was like that. Honestly, it was like the gang was back together. We rehearsed in January, opened in March, right before. And it's funny because, I mean, even then it felt all so right. Like the reviews were outstanding. Again, if not, probably better. And like, I mean, honestly, like, and deeply emotional. Like they were just so like poetic and really understood the core of the show in a way that, and put it into words, which I think is really hard because it is a unique piece. But, and then to do the album and all that, which we'd waited a year to do as well. We thought maybe we would do that earlier, and then we did it right then, which felt so special. And then to close like 4 days later, it was like, okay. But at least the thing is that we aren't unique in the fact that we're not alone in that.
Right. It's not like you closed.
No, God, no. Actually, if anything, that's the one thing we are very adamant about, is that no matter what happens, we will be back. And the show, I think, if anything, I was just thinking about this yesterday, like just walking around, and I was thinking about the show and how I mean, this isn't exactly like picking at straws. It is a little bit of a stretch,
Right.
but the idea that the show is about a bunch of people who are isolated in one house, like 18 people in one home in rural Minnesota, and no one really has a plan of how to get out. It's not the exact same pandemic situation, but I do imagine that emotionally it kind of lives in the show already. The idea of like just the day-to-day biblical struggle that is life, that is just keeping your head down and trying to get through. I mean, this will kind of add sort of in the emotional like punch that is the show.
Yeah.
This will be like adding insult to injury. Like it's gonna be like, oh my God, and they're stuck there and no one has a way out except maybe like really dark stuff. And like
Right.
It's just, I think if anything, it'll be, I mean, especially the idea of struggle, especially economically, it's just going to be, I think, really, unfortunately, timely and like really necessary.
If you have questions for Colton, pop them in the comments. We'll get to them. I have to say, so I've told the other cast members that I've had on, I've seen this show pretty much throughout its journey. I saw it at the Old Vic, must be 5 years ago now. And then I saw it at the Public, and then finally seeing it at the Belasco. It's the first time that I actually thought the show's potential was like completely realized. Like, I think at the Belasco, everything was just firing on all cylinders, and it hit me in a way that it had never hit me before. And the music is beautiful, and it's just like the perfect version of this piece.
I totally agree. I think it's funny. I mean, the show was really good at the Old Vic. I mean, it's the way I received it, and like in its script and its package, and with Connor. And I think that's like part of the genius of Connor, is that he works with the alchemy he's been given. Like, he totally read the room each time. I mean, even when they did it in Toronto, which kind of was slated to happen before we knew about Broadway. And I think a lot of people, just like at the Public, assumed it was just going to be a solid remount of like, we got it, we're just going to do it again. Because why wouldn't you? I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right. And I mean, when we received the script for Broadway, they were like, "What's that line?" "Oh, it was in Toronto. We added this thing." It was like, "That's really good." I mean, he every time came at it with a fresh take of like, the work's not done, like, which honestly is very Bob Dylan in itself. Like, man, it's not like being up and alone in a room for 8 hours at a time being like, the song's perfect, man. Joan Baez is telling you like the song's perfect. He's like, "No, man, there's 2 more verses. It's not good enough."
Were you one of the people that got to meet Bob Dylan when he either saw the show or invited people to his concert?
To this concert thing? No. I was a fool, and they didn't buy concert tickets to the Beacon that night. Otherwise, I probably would have been there. No, but I mean, I'm sure you've heard the story, but he was there and then he was gone. It was just like, he was in the building. We started late. Everyone kind of felt some weird energy in the air. And by intermission, everyone kind of like knew, all right, he's here. And then at the end,
and then he was gone.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, he's a mythic creature. He can't be seen. He can't be like,
he's Bob Dylan.
Yeah, he's a Nobel laureate for songwriting.
He's a phantom.
For poetry as a songwriter. It's like, no, man, he ain't real.
Yeah. Did you do Alice by Heart in between Girl from the North Country at the Public and Broadway, or was Alice by Heart before?
Right in between. I started rehearsal actually 2 weeks before we closed at the Public. I remember at the time it was like a big deal because, like I said, everyone was pretty sure we were going to go. Yeah. And I remember I didn't know how I was going to tell people that I was doing this other thing. I was so excited about it. And I was just about to gear up to tell everybody, and then they dropped, like, probably on your website, the cast announcement. And I came into the show, and the girls' dressing room, which is at the Public, it's a trip because everyone has to be like all in the exact same dressing room. So all the girls were in one, and the boys were split into 2 because there's more men. And I just hear from the girls' dressing room, "Hey, Colton, can you come in here?"
Oh,
I
no.
was like, oh God. And I walk in and they're all just kind of sitting there being like, so what's the plan with this, huh?
Do you have something you want to tell us?
Yeah, it was like I read something interesting today. It was very much like it was like a beautiful like having your mother come in, like you're like shit's going down, like you're in trouble, but she's like do you have something you want to tell me? I read something kind of today that I just thought was interesting.
And when it's coming from Mayor Winningham, it's just as bad as when it's your mother doing it.
Oh, it is my mother doing it. Then I'm like,
yeah.
I go back. I'm like, yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. And obviously, all the things kind of worked out exactly how they were meant to.
Yeah.
I'm really glad they did, because, I mean, I actually have this long story with Jesse Nelson about, like, because we ended up doing a TV show together and right after Alice, and that was my first big thing, like television series, and I have, like, to the day I remember with Alice, this interesting story of like how at first when I went in, didn't like me, didn't want me.
Uh-huh.
Kind of thought it was like, they were like, no, pass on that guy, hard pass. No.
How do you get the male lead?
Well, I can actually like put it to the day of, I remember, I don't exactly remember how it came cosmically to the point where I was doing the show. I received an email saying an appointment for Alice by Heart for the actual production, because I went out for it at Vassar that summer.
Uh-huh.
And I had already put out a feeler being like, please get me back in for this. And they were like, we're not seeing anybody from the summer. Meaning, like, we don't like you.
Right.
And and I remember getting the email being like, ha, I have another chance. And walking, this was mid-show. And then I walk out for I Want You. And I can see, because I know Molly before this point, because being friends with Ben Platt. And I see her and I'm like, oh, Molly. And I see her mom, Jessie, right there. And I'm like, oh, God. And I freak out. I have the worst show of my life, I think, because in your head, you just go there. And I even, like, they were in the lobby afterwards, because you have to go through the lobby to get out of the public. I dodged them, ran away, considered not doing the audition. I was like, I will embarrass myself yet again. But it was really kind of like, it was full circle when North Country came back, because Jessie told me the reason I was the White Rabbit is because she saw me in North Country and said, like, that's the guy.
Huh. And
so if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have done Alice, and I wouldn't have done the TV show. So to come back was such like a full circle for me. Like, I was like, I have to do this again. This is like, this thing got me one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life. And this is one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life. How the two things merged, I'll never know. But
what TV show was it?
It's called Little Voice, and it's coming out on Apple TV Plus. I can't say an exact date, but I want to say very, very soon.
Nice.
I understand it.
Nice. That's exciting. What's it about and who's in it? Are you allowed to talk about it?
Oh, yeah. The basics I definitely can. It's Jessie's show, but it's also Sarah Bareilles. She's the executive producer.
Oh, right. Yeah, I heard about this.
Yeah, and she it's really semi-autobiographical. It is about her upcoming upbringing and as like a young New Yorker, 20-something-year-old, learning how to become a songwriter and gain her voice. And it's also just about being 20-something in the city and trying to become an artist and find your voice. And J.J. Abrams is also the executive producer, and it's obviously got a cool team and everything. And yeah, I mean, it's gonna be great. I think we'll all be able to watch it while we're still stuck in our homes. That's as I understand it now. I probably should stop, because I'm recording this on an Apple product, so they're listening as they're like, stop it, stop saying things.
They know what's going on. Was Dear Evan Hansen your Broadway debut?
Yes, it was.
And you were. Remind me who you played.
I was the understudy for Evan, Jared, and Connor for the first year on Broadway.
That's no slouching.
No, it wasn't. God, no, it wasn't. And it always was shifting. Like, it was like 1 minute, because I mostly covered Ben for like the first 6-7 months. And then as I was starting to go, it kind of transitioned, and I started becoming more of like a Connor cover, which I never thought was going to happen. But
which Tell me about your audition for that.
Okay. Well, that was kind of wild because I was in college at the time. I was a senior, and I was in my first semester senior year. I had kind of finished up a lot of credits and stuff, and an agent that I was kind of working with freelance sort of was like, hey, I haven't sent this to you before because I kind of figured that you'd want to finish school.
Huh.
But as I understand it, they're having a tough time trying to find someone to cover Ben for Broadway. I guess they hadn't really set up a finite system of how to do that at Second Stage or Arena, and he hadn't called out ever because he's a wizard, and so they were like, yeah, they're nearing the end of their rope. They feel like they can't find someone. It was like a weird specific thing where they wanted someone really young, but or at least portrayed really young, but hopefully could also like sing and act it. And there are definitely more people in the world than me, as it's obviously now, as we can see. They churn them out like butter, but but at the time, I don't know why they couldn't find someone, and they said, well, hey, someone at Tara Rubin's office who I adore and owe everything to, was kind of like, you should call that kid, and gave me like a huge chance right there. And they called and said, like, would you even be willing? There was kind of a kerfuffle because on their end, they were like, actually, no, he's not interested. He's in school. And I was like, yes, please, yes. God, I'm interested.
It's your own and I'll do it.
Yeah, exactly. So, because I'd heard and I adored Passing Paul. I did Dogfight in college and was like obsessed. And
I love Dogfight.
Love it. It's the
undiscovered gem of their.
What's it?
The undiscovered gem of their canon, I think.
Oh, I think it's coming back. It's something. They're too big. I mean, they're just like they're asteroids at this point. It's gonna come back.
Do you remember the first night that you went on for Ben?
Oh yeah, it was an afternoon. It was a Sunday, and it's well, okay. So I'll curtail the last story, and because it all ends up being kind of quite romantic.
Oh, tell me.
But I end up taping on let's say a Wednesday. I have to drive to New York overnight to be there for that Friday, because they see the tape and they're like, all right, it's down to him and like maybe like one or two other people. And I show up, I do this audition, like literally bloodshot eyes, and we drove, thankfully my girlfriend, who's a saint, drove us, and my voice, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna blow this. And it's Michael Greif, Benj, Justin, Alex Lackamore. I'm pooping my pants.
Right.
And by that evening, we were popping champagne and we were, it was like, you're moving to the city in a week or two. But I had to leave school. I was really bummed to leave my best friends. And that Sunday that I went on, it was in April, and it was the same weekend as our showcase for school. And so for the first time, I was seeing them in months because they were there. We were at the alumni brunch, and I get the call. They're like, you're going. So we all just rushed the box office with like pitchforks, like, give us the fucking tickets, like as many as you can. So we get honestly, more than I expected, like 30, 40 tickets.
Wow.
I mean, everyone just like did anything they could. I mean, it was like the coolest thing in my life. Yeah. And all of my friends were there, all my classmates, their parents. It was just like wild. And I mean, I remember going out and like opening the laptop and expecting, I was like, there'll be silence. Because every night it was like a huge applause moment. It wasn't built to be that way, but it just naturally worked out really well because Ben deserved it and everyone knew and would shower him with applause right at the beginning when we opened that laptop. I assumed that would not happen, but all of my friends were like leaning to the other people being like, hey, my friend's in this today. There's going to be a moment where he opens a laptop, just starts screaming really loud. So when that happens, they like scream for like 2 minutes straight.
Oh. So
I just like almost lost it and then did the whole show. And that was probably my best one, honestly, because it was so like romantic with a capital R, but like, had the show become had it become a thing by that point? Had Ben's performance become a thing? Yeah, because it opened in December. So
right.
It was a huge hit already. It had survived it wasn't even surviving the winter lull. It was thriving. It was it was just the thing. And I mean, I'm not sure I'll even ever be a part of something like that again. Because I mean, musicals that hit the zeitgeist zone like that, like Hamilton. I mean,
right. It never comes around.
Yeah, it's just different. Where like if I went home, actually, it's funny because like I'm really proud of the things I've done since the show, and I'm really proud of the show. But if I'm here in Kentucky and I see someone, they're like, "You were in that one musical, Dear Evan Hansen," and I'm like, "Yeah, 3 years ago," and they're like, "Oh, that was so great. You do anything now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we just had to postpone a Broadway show," and they're like, "That's crazy. So what was that like? That Evan Hansen thing? Saw that in the news like all the time. Like it is different. It's like where people who don't normally follow musical theater at all would know."
When you were going on for Ben, particularly like during award season and all of that, did you feel an increased pressure on yourself because like it had become a thing and his performance had become a thing and all that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best part and the worst part of the whole experience was that I was so young, and for whatever reason, I was able to do it, but I'm not sure mentally I would ever say like if I look back on it, I was ready to do it. So I didn't feel pressure in that way. I didn't like it didn't like hit me in the way that it was like, okay, don't mess this up because it's all on the line and this is a huge deal.
Right.
I mean, I was so like, my dreams are coming true. Like every time I walked anywhere that I was hard on myself about it a lot. And I wanted to do the best job because that's just kind of the way I am about things. And that would make me anxious about it. But the actual idea of the show, I mean, during the Tony stuff, that was probably my most calm. There was like a whole like 5-day stint. And that's when I was like, I can do this. That was actually that was easier because they were in a row. Right. It wasn't like running a marathon cold. It was like, yes, this will be difficult, and my young body isn't probably trained to do the full marathon, but this is only a half marathon, and I can muscle through it. And by Monday, I was laryngitis, hoarse. I mean,
wow.
Like, yeah, I would never, but we also partied all night long because I was like, that was the best night in the world. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure looking back that it ever was about like, oh, this is the Tonys. It was just about like, no, man, you can think about this when you're done.
Yeah.
And I have.
Yeah, their Tony's party it was a really good Tony Awards.
It was a rager.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
That was a really good party. I remember Michael Park and his wife. Michael brought me in their car up to the party.
Very, very gentlemanly, just like Michael Park.
Yeah, that's funny. I hadn't thought about that in a while. What are you guys, the Girl from the North Country cast? Are you still in touch? Do you text threads or?
Oh yeah. We have a group chat called Girl from the North Country. And it's pretty active all the time. Right now we're helping with a video for the BCEFA event.
Oh, cool.
Mother's Day one. So we're really active right now, but we also call individually and call like as a whole. We talk. What's
J.O. Sanders like in a group chat?
Non-existent until he's there. And then he's a very large presence.
Just like him as a person.
Yes. Lots of puns in text.
That's funny.
Yeah. It's like, wow, you genuinely are the same person online that you are in person. That is a feat. That is remarkable.
This is an interesting question that we just got in the comments. Okay. What was the reaction of the higher-ups in charge of Girl from the North Country when COVID happened? How did they communicate it with you, and how are they assisting you as an employee?
I mean, they were great. I mean, to all of us, it was so wild and unknown, and everyone was attempting to go through as many contingencies that were optimistic as possible. Of like, what if we do this? What if we do this to stay running? I mean, I remember that morning hearing murmurs more than actual like. But no one knew, and then all of a sudden, because the governor didn't announce or didn't like give a heads up.
He didn't say anything.
He just said, "All right, stay at home. Gatherings of 500 or larger are canceled."
Right.
And so then I got the call that was very official. But they were amazing. They like immediately sent us all the information we would need to file for unemployment. Even for us who are like incorporated, all that's like, they really just walked step by step through it with us. And they still are in constant communication. We listened to the whole cast album together and stuff, and had a good cry, and we're so excited for that to come. And yeah, it's very family oriented.
Yeah.
It is unique in the fact that, I hate to put it in these terms, but that every single person is incredibly nice and authentic and honest and cool. And honestly, we're kind of diverse in terms of like age range,
right,
ethnicity. And so for that reason, it kind of works at, I think, in my opinion, it works out the way all things should, because it's diverse. It just kind of makes it quite easy for us to understand each other and accept when we don't understand each other. And so we have a really nice open line of communication, and that kind of goes from the top all the way down.
That's really nice. Colton, thank you so much for your time.
Oh my God, thank you.
I really appreciate it.
This gave me a reason to understand what hour of the day it was.
That's great. I'm glad to help with that.
It was a little bit of structure. It was great.
Yeah. This is the one structured thing in my day too, actually.
Yeah.
Like I know at 2:00 every day I have this, and it's been really helpful.
Does it ever hit like 2:01 and you're like, oh my God?
Almost today, actually.
Yeah, that happens to me all the time.
Almost today. Have a good one. Thank you,
David.
We're back tomorrow at 2:00 to end the week with Irene and David. The writers have come from away. I know.
Wow.
I know. Yeah. Oh, we got one more. Whoa, we're getting a lot of questions in. Do you have time?
Yeah, I have a second.
We're getting a. Do you have a second from the?
Yeah, I admitted that I have nothing going on ever, and then I was like, yeah, I have a second.
Now people are sending in questions. What's the one thing you wish you knew leaving college?
Well, I had a very protected way of leaving college. I had a job. I mean, It was like, and that's not normal and should not be expected. And when I left that job, I didn't have a job. And that's the thing that I wish I would have known, that like even the greatest of the greats, the Tony winners, the whole, all the shebang, the only time that I've ever in my life walked from one rehearsal process to the next was that North Country thing. And I never let it, like, every day I'd walk into that rehearsal and everyone was like, what's wrong with you? Because I was like just cheesing my way through, being like, isn't it a beautiful day? And they're like, it's snowing and it's New Year's Eve and I hate you. And I'd be like, we're rehearsing. But, I'm not normally like that, but I just was so appreciative, because I remember when I left the show, Evan Hansen, which essentially was the finishing of my college, I was so like, well, yeah, but it can only go up from here. But that's not true. And it's not that it doesn't go up. It just means that sometimes you just have to fill the time until it happens again. And it could be a long time or not. And that's something that really happens for people after college a lot, because it's hard to get your, foot in the door. Even if someone wants to show you, if you're lucky enough that someone shows you the map to the door in the first place. So, I think it's good to understand that like it is a process and it's going to take some time.
And then we got another one. Do you have any advice for people who want to become a musical theater actor?
Not anything good.
What's the best piece of advice you've gotten?
The one that I always tell younger folks, because I made this mistake a lot, was I used to always I would scour the internet for songs that were like, ooh, the reasons were always like piss poor. Like, oh, no one's gonna know what this song is. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's from like Allegro. No one sings that shit. Like things like that. And I think it never works that way. I can always sniff it from like a mile away if you don't, like, to your core, just love what you're singing. That's the one thing I always, especially with like auditions and like going to college and even posts, like it is so easy to tell when a singer isn't actually interested in telling that story. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's just, even if it's like, it's like a Mariah Carey, Emotions, or like I don't care if that's the song you sing the most in your car when you're driving. I would much rather see you do that, and you'll probably get the job than if you do like Will He Like Me, which is a great song and you should do it. Like if it is the song that you sing in the car, but I also can just tell, like, I don't even have to know you. It's like, you don't listen to that. You don't like it. And for that reason, it's hard to be truthful, because that part is another cog in the wheel of like, oh, I have to think of how to sing this song, instead of just like oozing it out of you.
Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Back tomorrow at 2:00. Back tonight at 7 for Broadway Trivia, hosted by Ellen Marsh and Brett Thiel. See y'all on the internet, everybody.
See you there at Trivia.
Yeah. Bye. Have a good one.
Thanks, David. Bye.
Bye.